The World Aquatics Championships in Singapore keeps on delivering, and I can't even pick the best race of the night because there were so many good ones. Was it the women's 200 butterfly that started everything off? Was it the men's 100 freestyle? An absolute electric field went head to head. Or was it the men's 200 IM, which was right before the 100 freestyle and just mind-blowing in how fast the swimmers were? I'm going to recap the entire night of swimming, so if you enjoy this sort of content, make sure you like the video and subscribe because I'm going to be doing this every day of the World Championships. And before I go any further, I just want to let you know I've got a few things for sale on my website right now. One of them is my middle distance training program. It is now just £52.69 from £150, massive discount. Then my 100-meter race pace programs are, spoiler alert, £46.51 instead of £100. And lastly, my raw speed membership is just half price for the first month for new members. Use discount code Singapore50. Anyhow, let's get into the action. We started off with the women's 200 butterfly, and to be honest, it was always going to be the way it unfolded in terms of the finishing. We knew Summer McIntosh was going to win. It wasn't a surprise. She flirted with the world record earlier this year at Canadian trials, and she openly wants this world record. It was her mum's event. We knew she was going to be fast, and at 100 meters, she had a miles lead. She was 1.5 seconds ahead of second place Regan Smith at 58.41, but was 0.3 down on world record split. And because the world record by Lou Zieg was aided by a bodysuit, I thought, well, if she's away at 100, I don't think she's going to back end the world record. I'm not always right. In fact, I'm regularly wrong because Summer's third 50 of 31.59 for a 130 flat at the 150 meter mark meant that she was under world record split by 0.2 with 50 to go. And she pushed, and she set a PB. She set an American record, a championship record, and she went 2:01.99. She broke the championship record by 1.5 seconds from Jess Shipper back in 2009 with the super suits, but it was just 0.18 off of the world record. And she said in a post-race interview, after swearing a load of times in the pool in frustration at being so close, and she sort of had one of them grins. It was like, I knew I was really good there, but damn, I wanted that world record. And dropping 4 F-bombs in the pool. She said that the last 15, there were some mistakes. Now, I watched the race from the live stream like maybe you did and didn't see anything outrageous. But she obviously was not exactly happy with the last 15. Maybe she wanted to go head down early or pick up the stroke rate. And maybe that would have been the difference. But I don't doubt that she's going to come back with a vengeance on this event. And I see this world record going sooner rather than later. Regan Smith had separation from third, but she was exactly 3 seconds back in 2:04.99 for another silver medal. And Elizabeth Deckers of Australia used her one fly kick to one stroke technique to just hold off Uzidi, who got a second, fourth place of the meet. We then went into the women's 100 freestyle semi-finals. Kind of a weird flow to the night. We had a women's final, a women's semi, a men's final, a men's final. And the women's 100 freestyle semi-final, I'm going to do really quickly because there was nothing crazy really happened. Marit Steenbergen and Molly O'Callaghan were both 52.8. They're the only 52s. Tori Huss did make it back. And Milu van Wijk of Netherlands, the super tall Dutch swimmer, was 53.51 to come 8th. Then we had the men's 2IM. And it was all about the Texas Longhorns. It was all about Bob Bowman. It was all about Leon Marchand and Shane Cassis and Hubert Koss. Because we had 3 different countries who were all coached by Bob Bowman at the Texas Longhorns get on the podium. Leon Marchand won in 1:53.6. Not as fast as yesterday, but still the second fastest swimmer in history and the only 1:53. But Shane Cassis dropped again. He PB'd yesterday and then smashed his PB by 0.8 tonight to go the 4th fastest performance of all time, behind only Ryan Lochte, Michael Phelps, and Leon Marchand. Crazy good swim, 1:54.3. He outsplit Leon on the last 50 with a 27.9. He looked brilliant, and he deserved that silver medal. And it was their teammate, Hungarian Hubert Koss, who closed out the podium with a 1:55.34. Not quite Hungarian record, which still belongs to Laszlo Cseh. And if that wasn't enough excitement, World Aquatics said, hey, you get one more epic race because here's the men's 100 freestyle. And oh my God, that race delivered as well. The field was electric. Matt Richards, Maxime Grousset, Patrick Salmon, Igor Kornev, Gui Kuribe, Cole Chalmers, Jack Alexei, David Popovici. It only really lacked Zhanle, who obviously come 9th, did not make this final, but it was a blanket. Igor Kornev had the early lead of a 22.3, just ahead of Gui Kuribe, who on the outside lane nailed the start and flipped in 22.4, the same as Popovici and Alexei. Chalmers was just back in 5th at 22.6. and then it was all on the way back. I must say, Jack Alexi's start wasn't great, but David Popovici's was, and so was his turn, and he back-ended a 24.02 for the second fastest swim of all time, a European and championship record, 46.51, 0.11 off the world record, so close to 2 world records on this night in the early races, to win by 0.4 in the end, to Jack Alexi, who backed up his 46 yesterday with his second fastest swim, 46.92, and Chalmers somehow managed to get himself back on the podium, swimming over Gui Kribe and Igor Kornev for 47.17 for third. We then took a big relax. We took a breath, we calmed down, and we had some semi-finals. Most notably, the breaststroke semi-finals, which we've been talking on a live stream a lot about getting rid of semi-finals, but the 200 breaststroke, both men and women's, really drove home our point. If there was heats in a final in the 200 breaststroke, the heats would be exciting and the final would be exciting. But right now, the heats aren't exciting and neither is the semi. In the women's 200 breaststroke, first place was 220 and 16th place was 229. A 9.02 difference between the first and 16th place. That's not competitive. There's not enough depth for this, and it just wasn't interesting. That being said, I think there will be an interesting battle tomorrow between Evgenia Chikhanova and Kate Douglas, who are both 220, 220.6 for Chikhanova, 220.9 for Kate Douglas. They both are so long and glidey, but Evgenia Chikhanova just locks in on 35.9s on the second half, and I think she's not only just a world record holder, but I think she's untouchable in this event. I think she's finally going to get her gold medal tomorrow night. I hope so. She's brilliant. I worked with her at Energy Standard back in the 2021 ISL. We then had the women's 50 back final, and this was always going to be close, and it was close. I mean, first to eighth was 0.48, first to third was 0.22, but second to fifth was 0.1. Like, it was on the finish. Kat Burkhoff smashed the underwaters of the start, got on the stroke great. She won 27.08, American record. Regan Smith got another silver, the second silver of the night, 27.25. And Letian Wan of China just touched out Kylie Max and Lauren Cox a bronze with a 27.30. Kylie and Lauren were both 3.3 and 3.6, so 6 100ths between third, fourth, and fifth. But that is the nature of the 50s. And then we had the men's 200 breaststroke. There wasn't 9 seconds from first to 16. There was only 3.8. Men's depth is better than women's depth, as we can see here. But Chin Hyang got it back in a 209.3, which is still not massively fast. Ipe Watanabe was first with 2.80. And I think Japan could have a sneaky chance of a 1-2 tomorrow because Fukasawa in the second semi looked great as well, 2.84. AJ Pouch won the second semi and claimed it. Oh, he was cheering, he was slapping high fives. He was pumped, more pumped than Leon after breaking the world record. I'm not even exaggerating. He went off after winning the second semi. So he's back in second. And Chin Hyang and Krill Pagoda, we know how dangerous they are in 7th and 8th. Then we had the men's 200 backstroke semis, and I was excited for one main reason. That was because my boy, Jan Jaker, set a 1.2 second PB to go into the final 7th, 155.4, electric swim, such a great lad. Go follow him on YouTube and Instagram. He's back in 7th, but the real story was just how good Peter Kotzier looked. He went out fast, under world record split, 26.3, 28.7 for 55.0, and then 29.6, 29.5 on the back end. African record by 1.2, breaking his own PB and African record. And Johan Nadui Barad, who, the 100 back was all about Peter and Johan, and the 200 could be about these two too, because they both looked great. It was a French record by a second, or just under a second from Johan. And obviously Hubert Koss, the Olympic champion, 154.6, and Roman Matukov, the Olympic silver medalist, 154.8. They were the fourth 154s. Blake Tierney was a Canadian record in 5th. And don't write off Apostolos Siskos in 6th, because he's been swimming really well this year, 154. Or Luke Greenbank in 8th, because he's the Olympic medalist from Tokyo. Or my boy Jan Jaker, who is in that final, and I hope he drops again and puts his name in contention. We finished with the women's 4x200 freestyle, and it turned out to be an astonishing race. An astonishing race just between Australia and USA. China got bronze, which does mean Yu Zidi, the 12-year-old, is now a world championship medalist because she swam the prelims. That's crazy. There's a 12-year-old world championship medalist at this competition. I can't believe I'm saying it. I mean, I can because of how good she is, but still, it's a crazy statistic. But the race, there was no race between third and fourth. There was 7 seconds between China and Hungary, and China were 3 seconds back off the Australians and the Americans, but the Australians and Americans went head to head. The first leg, Lani versus Claire Weinstein. So close, 0.06 in it. 154.7 for a PB for Lani, 154.8 for Weinstein. Peplowski, the second leg for America, put them in the lead with a 154.7 to Jamie Perkins, 155.1. Then Erin Gemmell, who was ill yesterday, somehow got put on this team, went out like an absolute crazy person, 25.9, 55.6, extended the lead over the Australians by a massive margin, and then the piano dropped, and Brittany Castelluzzo overtook her, 156.0 to 156.7, to put the Australians into the lead, and Molly O'Callaghan just held off Katie Ledecky. They both swam so fast, 153.7 for Katie, 153.4 for Molly. Great swims by both the ladies, but it was Australia who held off with a 7:39.3 to beat the Americans 7:40.0. A great night of swimming. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Check out my website for merch, training plans, and discounts, even and finished rifle tech suits at £60, www.theswimsuitguy.co.uk. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for a heats recap.